Hello, my name is Cathryne Bruce Johnson, and I'm here speaking from the Teaching of the Inner Christ at the International Center in El Cajon, California. Today we're going to be talking about remembering to give thanks. Remembering to give thanks is powerful. It lifts, it shifts, it renews our spirits, and it blesses our world. And our world needs a lot of blessing, especially right now. We have been experiencing the COVID-19 pandemic worldwide. Our cities have shut down, we've been isolated, and we have been social distancing, a lot of economic impacts. So we need the blessing. We need that power of remembering to give thanks. And also, it's important to mention that the riots that are going around nationwide, we need to find an area where we can give thanks so we can bring in a new power to lift, to shift, to renew, and to bless our world. The riots for me have been very disturbing. You may know that George Floyd had died while being pinned down by a police officer on Memorial Day. And from that arose a peaceful protest about equality with people and fair treatment of people. And after several nights, several days of the peaceful protest, there came in another group that brought in rioting. And it was very disturbing when we take into account looting, fires, attacks on law enforcement, and a great chaos. It's a very alarming situation. So today, when we are remembering to give thanks, I have to ask myself, how do I remember to give thanks when I am in an emergency situation, when I am so alarmed by what's going on around me, when I am in a sense of disquiet, and when I'm scared or angry or overwhelmed? How do I remember to give thanks? At the Teaching of the Inner Christ, we learn that we are more than who we think we are, that each person has a center of divinity. A Christ self is the name that we use, an inner Christ. And in that center of divinity, we know that God is right here, everywhere, present. So when we're remembering to give thanks, and we're in these urgent situations, one of the first things we can do is claim and give thanks that right where the problem seems to be, God is. If nothing else, I can give thanks. Right where the problem seems to be, God is. And when I do that, I feel balanced. I feel calm, even in an urgent situation. I get an immediate sense of balance with this. The second thing that we can do, remembering to give thanks, especially in the tough times, is to give thanks for whatever good is going to come out of this situation. We know that there is great good happening despite the appearance of unrest, of fear, of anger. And so the second thing I can do when I'm remembering to give thanks is I give thanks for the wonderful new good from this situation. What is the silver lining? There's always silver linings. I was so disturbed about the riots happening right in my neighborhood, right in the shopping centers where I frequent, burned, looted, on the news last night. And then this morning on the news, I saw a whole new group of people coming in with their COVID-19 face masks and with their brooms and with their wheelbarrows and trash bags, and they're restoring the area, volunteering, scores of people coming in to clean up after the chaos. And I felt myself giving great thanks, remembering to give thanks, that in chaos is an opportunity for people to come together. And it's happening right now. So when we're in these situations, we can open up and look to see the silver lining and look for the good, to give thanks. Another situation that came to me as I was watching the news last night and following the situation with the riots and also the peaceful protests, I was feeling a sense something was unsettled. There was still something in me. So in remembering to give thanks, I find that it's important to be attuned to what is the problem for me. What am I tuning into that is bringing a sense of disquiet? And when I tuned in to how I was feeling, I realized what came to my attention was this feeling of division. The divisions between the black community and the white community, and the equal enforcement of the law to all people somehow being different because of skin color or race. I found this very disturbing in my mind. And I realized that what's important for me to realize or to know is what my problem is, to pluck it out, to turn it around, and find what's on the other side of the coin. And the other side of the coin of division is unity. And I found myself giving thanks for the new unity that may be coming out of this situation. And this is very powerful. Remembering to give thanks is powerful. It lifts, it shifts, it renews, and it blesses. And so we remember to give thanks that right where the problem seems to be, God is. We remember to give thanks for the new good that's going to come out of any situation. And we remember to attune to what is causing that personal disquiet, to bring it out and look to the other side of that coin and give thanks for that new good, which for me was division and then unity. And I tell you, when I looked at the news this morning and I saw all the people coming together, a whole new group of consciousness coming in to clean the streets all across the nation, not only in my hometown. It was such a lifting feeling. It was a powerful feeling, and I gave thanks for that solution. You know, we don't always know what the good is behind things. I like to share a story with you about my mother. My mother this week had a medical situation which required me to take her from her assisted care living facility to the hospital. And I was very concerned because with the COVID-19 situation, I was concerned about the new risks for my mother. She got up one morning, she had trouble standing up. She was able to stand up, she sat down, and she couldn't get back up for the rest of the day. So we called the ambulance, we took her to the hospital, and the doctors there found that there was an underlying issue that needed to be treated. We caught it early. It could be treated with a procedure. And so what was an alarming situation with my mother not being able to stand turned out to be a great blessing. I give thanks that we were able to get her in for care so soon and treated so soon. Well, the next situation that came up with my mother is that even though she had the procedure, she was stronger, she could stand up, she was still weakened, and she couldn't walk really very far in a walker. So the care team said, we need to take her to a rehab facility to get stronger for a couple of weeks. Again, I felt a terrible concern My mother is going to a rehab facility, perhaps more exposure to COVID-19. But I give thanks that there's some good out of this. And I picked a facility. After speaking to the care team at that facility, I was so thankful for how caring they were and how kind they were and how put together. They knew exactly what they needed to do, and I felt comforted. Another situation with giving thanks is my mother had shared with me how grateful she was to her nurse that was taking care of her. And you know, my mom had to be rolled every 2 hours, a lot of interruptions in the hospital. And so when I asked my mom how she's doing, she said, "I'm so grateful for the great care I'm getting." I felt lifted. It was powerful. I felt filled with energy and happiness. When I spoke to the care team and I relayed to the care team, my mother told me how grateful she is for your excellent care, for your thoughtfulness to her. And the nurse had a change of voice and she said, oh, I'm so glad to hear that. And I realized that my mother probably had not told the nurse directly how grateful she was, but my mother remembered to give thanks to me. I was lifted. I told the nurse. And the nurse, in her response, told me she was lifted and very happy to get that. So remembering to give thanks and to say thank you is so powerful. It lifts, it shifts, it renews, it blesses. And the other item about the rehab facility is not only is my mom getting the care she needs, she's getting stronger, but she's in a patio room, which means I am able to go and see her through her patio door. I can call her on the phone and we can see each other. This is the first time we've been able to see each other for weeks. And what a blessing, what a silver lining, and a lifting, a shifting, a renewing, and a blessing for us. I give great thanks. Well, again, in remembering to give thanks, we give thanks that right where the problem seems to be, God is. We give thanks for the new good that's coming out of the situation. And we give thanks for our awareness of the pain we may feel. And by going deeper, we can dig out that gold nugget and give thanks for the new healing that we are receiving and that we're attuning to. And so I encourage everyone to cultivate a attitude of gratitude by certainly giving thanks for all the little things. What about that first warm cup of coffee in the morning? Or maybe a hot cup of coffee. I give such great thanks for that every morning when I have my coffee. I love it. The spring air, when I was visiting my mother, all the flowers were out. My mother and I were looking at the sky together. It was so blue. I could hear the birds. There are so many little things, moment to moment, that we can remember to give thanks on these gifts that Spirit has for us. And to say thank you to others. And also, a wonderful tool is create a gratitude journal. Just 5 minutes in the morning, just jot a few things that you may be grateful for. I'm remembering to give thanks for the air, for the coffee, for the music I'm hearing, for the people I love that are around me, for my friends. And even before we go to bed, I'm just taking 3 minutes to jot down a few items that we're grateful for. It brings us into a wonderful state for a good sleep and sweet dreams. I'd like to share with you a reading from a pink book. These pink books are channeled messages from an anonymous group called the Brotherhood of the Followers of the Present Jesus. And this is on page 6. It says, teach yourself how to love, how to praise, how to give thanks for everything. If someone would quarrel with you, give thanks for that. And walk through it in love, for it leads to a better path. But if you should withdraw and say it is wrong, you have shut a door upon life at that point. And at one point you have said, God is not love. There is love in the quarrel. There is refreshment in a storm. There is sun in the cloud. There is music in noise. There is light in shadow. And you may see the center of it by loving it. For love opens the door to your understanding of everything that happens to you. And what opens the door to love? Remembering to give.